everyone. My name is Ritesh and today we'll discuss current affairs topic, right? And today's topic is Karnataka High Court on online gaming, right? So first let us talk about the Karnataka High Court on online gaming and why this particular thing was in news recently, right? So the Karnataka High Court, basically they strike down portion of Karnataka Police Amendment Act 2021. This is the first issue that came up in the news, that the court strike down the portion of Karnataka Police Amendment Act 2021. Now if we go to the Police Amendment Act 2021 itself directly, then this particular act, the Karnataka Police Act, this law was introduced by the Karnataka government to ban online gaming and skill-based gaming platforms, right? So this was introduced by the Karnataka government in order to ban online gaming and all those skill-based gaming platforms, right? And the games banned were games that involved any wagering or risking of money on an uncertain event, for example, online rummy, poker, and fantasy sport, right? So this particular act, this Karnataka Police Act, was enacted in order to ban these online gamings. For example, you can also take an example of Dream 11 Sports, right? So this Dream 11 Sports is also a fantasy sports game, right? And even the Supreme Court says that it is a skill-based game, not entirely on luck. That is why it is legal in India, but not in every state. Again, if you talk about every state or any state, because gambling or these things comes under the state subject, so every state has different opinions over this particular issue, right? So that is why there are some states where online fantasy sports or online betting, gambling is banned, right? So this was the whole idea. Now, even if we came across the Dream 11 as a company, you already know that Dream 11 is a unicorn company, right? So they earn money through these kind of resources, and because Supreme Court already gave a green signal to this particular thing, so it is very legal in every part of the country. But there again, like I've said, there are some states that don't favor the idea of betting or gambling or online sports, fantasy sports. So these sports are banned in those particular respective states. Now come back to the Karnataka Police Amendment Act. So again, like I've said, this was you have to remember this first thing, that this particular Karnataka Police Act introduced by this government because they want to ban online gambling and skill-based gaming platforms. Now, not just Karnataka, apart from Karnataka, similar law introduced by the Tamil Nadu government was struck down by the Madras High Court in August 2021. Now, there was a similar law which was introduced by Tamil Nadu government as well, but again the Madras High Court has struck down that law also, right? In September 2021, the Kerala High Court also had quashed a notification issued by the state government specifically banning the game of online rummy when played for stakes, right? So so this was the main idea, that Karnataka is not just the only country who is doing this. So earlier Tamil Nadu and also Kerala has done the same thing. Same situation happened and same thing happened basically, right? The state government enacted a law, and then after that the High Court of the respective state banned that particular law. Now coming back to this original news, which is Karnataka High Court online gaming. So again, the High Court struck down the Karnataka Police Amendment Act. Why it has struck down portion of Karnataka Police Amendment Act? Because this particular Amendment Act talks about the ban of online gamings and skill-based betting and all. So through this ban online gaming and skill-based gaming platforms, again, yes, online gaming falls in a these particular things, online gaming, right? So these things falls in a regulatory grey area, and there is no comprehensive legislation with respect to the legality of this particular gaming, right? So there is no comprehensive legislation that talks about the legality of this game. there are Supreme Court orders. There was a case again in Dream 11. So that's the case. We have the authority. But if we talk about a comprehensive legislation, then there is no such legislation currently there, right? Through which we can draw the legality of these particular things. Now, let's talk about the High Court ruling over this issue. Let us just understand this issue. Now, High Court says a game of skill is based mainly on the mental or physical level of expertise of a player rather than a chance. And in game of chance, the usage of skill is present, but a higher level of chance determines success. So, they are saying that गेम ऑफ स्किल बेसिकली क्या होता है? गेम ऑफ स्किल में मेनली द मेंटल और फिजिकल लेवल ऑफ एक्सपर्टीज ऑफ मतलब प्लेयर का जो एक्सपर्टीज है फिजिकल या मेंटल लेवल पे उसके बेस पे डिफर करता है, राइट? चांस पे नहीं. गेम ऑफ स्किल में चांस पे नहीं आता बात. बट इफ यू टॉक अबाउट गेम ऑफ चांस, skill is also present there, but the higher level of chance determines your success, right? So in game of chance, the happening of that event, right, the higher level of chance determines success. That is why we have said that it is a game of chance and it is a game of skill, which High Court says. Now, the games based on skills are allowed in most parts of the country, while games of chance are categorized under gambling and are prohibited in most parts of the country. Now, they categorized these games into two: game of skill, game of chance, right? And they said that game of skill is allowed and in most parts of the country, but game of chance is are categorized under gambling and are prohibited, right? So we can also again add this Team 11 case here, because when this case comes into the court, the court ordered that Dream 11 is basically online fantasy sports, but it is a game of skill rather than game of chance. That is why Dream 11 wins that particular case, because they prove that this is Dream 11 is basically a game of skill, not a game of chance, right? Now, as betting and gambling is a state subject, different states have their own legislation. Obviously, there are lots of differences with this thing, that there are lots of differences with this particular thing, that whether they are allowed or not. So, because different states have different legislation over this particular issue, that is why different opinions existed, right? So again, if we come to the jurisprudence of this particular thing, the first thing that comes up in my mind is basically is that this betting and gambling is a state subject. So obviously state government have the authority to legislate over this particular subject, right? So that is why different states have different opinions about this set of games, right? Now, the court also held that the state government provided no evidence or data on whether a sweeping ban was justified, and neither constituted a committee of experts to study the case, right? Yeah. So, the court says that even court even recognized this particular thing, that state government are providing no such evidence or data whether a outright ban was justified or not, because you are not giving evidence that we are just they are just outrightly banning the whole event, right? They are not giving evidence that even that particular ban is justified or not, right? Even this justification, even if this decision comes from a committee of experts, right? And if you're outrightly banning this issue, then you must have discussed this issue with a panel of experts over this issue, right? So this is the first ruling which High Court says. Then the court also said that playing online games could help in building the character of an individual, and enjoying online gaming could also fall within the contours of freedom of expression and right to liberty and privacy guaranteed under the Constitution. So the court basically favors the idea of online gaming, right? They also by saying that they can help in building the character of an individual, they are actually favoring this argument that yes, you can allow children or persons to play online fantasy sports in our country, right? Now, the court also find that they have an opinion that regulation of online games may be a better and proportionate solution rather than an outright ban. Obviously, right? The High Court obviously talks about this particular issue. First, they said that state government must produce some evidence that whether the outright ban is justified or not, or the issue has been referred to a panel of expert or not, right? Second is that they are favoring this argument that they are saying that the online games will help in building the mental structure of the child or whatever, right? So they are basically favoring the idea. Third one is they are saying that we don't want to ban this particular thing. It's better to have a legislation over this particular thing than an outright ban, right? So these 3 points comes from the High Court itself, right? Now next is Karnataka Police Act, which I have already discussed. That, see, one question that will trick you out in this particular issue is that question can come like, which act is being amended by Karnataka government, or which act is being Karnataka High Court, right, for online gaming and all. So it is Karnataka Police Amendment Act, right? So this again is your answer if you are considering it. Now let's talk about the negative aspect of these type of gamings, right? First one is that the WHO announced a plan to include gaming disorder as a mental health condition, right? So this is the first thing, that even World Health Organization, which is known as WHO, also announced a plan to include gaming disorder under as a mental health condition, right? So obviously it is a serious issue. That is why WHO is considering this as an option, right? Second is Telangana, which was the first state to ban online games for stakes in 2017, has been spurred of illegal or underground online gambling apps, right? So there are so many underground gambling apps happening in and around the state Telangana also. Now these apps, most of which originate from China or even for other foreign countries, they accept payments from players through dummy companies or hawala channels, right? So they use these monies, money to form some other thing, right? There must be some negative point attached to this particular thing, right? Then both the enforcement directorate and the local cyber crime authorities have tried to crack down on such apps, but with limited success. Obviously, again, these apps have the origin of China and some other apps, and because ED and all cyber crimes are working towards it, right? But with limited success, with the factual knowledge, right? And last is that the users who are using these particular things are being unable to avail remedies for any unfair behavior or even refusal to pay out winnings. So these are the negative points that are being attached to this particular thing. Now, last point is way forward, what we can give suggestions, what this topic can go, right? First is a gaming authority at the central level should be created, right? So authority has been created, a proper legislation should be there, right? So second is more and more youngsters are getting hooked to online games. In light of this, the online gaming industry need to be regulated in India, and instead of a complete ban, one should look at licensing and regulating the industry, right? So this is basically the way forward, to just have a legal backup of these particular things, just have a proper authority, central authority, have a proper legislation over this, right? So this will all comes under this. So this was all about this Karnataka High Court online gaming, right? So thank you so much.